What's up YouTube? Jason here with Bite My Bits, and this is episode number 7 of Jason Bytes Back, the series of which I go back, talk a little bit with the community about some comments that were made on my videos, and then try to answer some questions. Okay, so I want to start this video off by saying thank you. And thank you for basically appreciating the videos, the little DIY videos that I've done, like Thanksgiving. I gotta be honest, I was actually a little nervous in doing that video series because, you know, I see a lot of big YouTubers that they make these polished videos and tutorials, and it shows, you know, that they know exactly what they're doing and there's no problems getting there, you know. So you see that and you kind of aspire to be, you know, at least somewhat on their level, you know, professionally, and you get nervous showing that you really have no idea what you're doing. So I just want to say thank you. You know, everyone, I got some good comments, some good recommendations, some good ideas, you know, some constructive criticism and some praise. I mean, it was a good show all around. And that series really, I mean, it's not like a series, but those type of videos are not going anywhere because that's still an ongoing project for me. Both the pfSense, which I got some good news on that, and the home networking. So I plan on, you know, doing more of those videos in the future. I got to find the time to do it. So, and while on the topic of pfSense, I have a pfSense video that I have been working on not all last weekend, but pretty much every available moment that I had on the computer that I have been working on a new pfSense build, and I think you're going to like it. Basically, I went on eBay, I bought a used server, and I've been turning that into a dedicated pfSense router that is now in my rack. So that's kind of exciting. It's been an interesting ride, and I will talk about it more when I make that video. I'm still in the process of getting a few things figured out, but yeah. If you follow me on Twitter, you probably know I was asking a question about how to configure my network because there's some things I've been wanting to do, and I don't know if I'm gonna get it done before the video. I think I'm at a point where I'm just like, you know what? I'm done trying. So in today's video, I don't have a ton of questions. Again, I'm really limited on time. So I went back like two and a half weeks, and I was just comment after comment. I was like, you know what? I have to get this video made. It's, you know, overdue. You know, this video is overdue. So just kind of bear with me. I just wanted to touch base on those videos that I made and let you know that more of that's going to be coming. And I'm really happy that you liked it because I seriously just almost did not make it. So let's move on to question number 1 from Prophet Beal. I've asked this before and didn't get a response. So since CrashPlan has given up on us home users, what are you using for a backup service now? That's actually still a question for me. Basically, I had CrashPlan set up on Zeus, and it was backing up a few different things. It was a great utility, and it was something that was nice to keep things backed up. I've never actually had to rely on it. I never had to recover data, so I can't speak for its versatility and usability past, you know, just configuring it and setting it to backup because I've never had to recover any of the data. So I don't know how well it works on that end, but since they shut it down, I did remove it from Zeus, and I'm just kind of running raw right now. I don't have anything backing up my computer. I've looked at a couple different options. I forgot what the software is called. Okay, I forgot what it's called. I'll put it on the screen though, but basically it's software you purchase. I forgot, it's like $70 or something. I haven't done it yet, but you can set it up to take images, and it's a very well-known program, and you can tell it to back up to a certain area or a certain like drive location, something like that. So what I've been thinking about doing is essentially setting up some sort of a private a drive or something to where this can FTP to it, or, you know, use it as a secure connection only. That way, you know, let's say hypothetically I get infected by ransomware, it won't be able to see that location. So the idea here is that if I were to set up something like an FTP on Zeus and then set this program up to take an image on my computer, I don't know, once a week, it can connect to that FTP using the username and password, and that would basically keep any kind of ransomware from seeing that as a drive because it's hidden, it's not shared on the network. But it is accessible and stored with the FTP username and password. So I've been looking at using that, but honestly, I have not set up anything else. I haven't even looked at it. I haven't had the time, and as long as I've been using backups on my computer and backups on certain things, very few times have I actually had to go back and restore and use those backups. So that's kind of like one of those things that's like, it keeps put in the back of my mind because I never actually had to rely on it. But that's how you get messed up, because that one moment where you're just like, you don't have backup set up, that's when you need it. And yeah, Acronis, that's the name. But hey, I'm up for suggestions. So if you have any ideas, post them down below. I'll ask the community. I'll have to ask the community for profit bill. If anyone out there has a different option, maybe even a free option to where they can, download it, or they can back up their computers or whatever to certain locations, both FTP, and a local hard drive, etc. Post them down below. So it'll be interesting to see what the options are out there. I might even explore some of them. Next up from Ryan Beer. Is there a way in Plex to name the versions of a movie? For example, I put both colored and black and white versions on Logan. When I go to watch, instead of being able to say color, black and white, commentary, director's cut, etc., it just gives you the specs of the files it sees. Pretty much when it comes to Plex, there's different versions. Like you can optimize your version. So like the Plex client usually is supposed to be able to, call the most optimal version, or you can manually select it, again, depending on the Plex client. But what this is really doing is just selecting, the bitrate and the quality, that sort of thing. What I can say is the best way, if you really wanted to separate this in your server, is just to literally do that. Separate it in your server. See, when you scan your files, you go in, you'll see that there's like a number 2 or a number 3 on the top left side of the little poster art. That means there's 2 different versions of that file. And you can go in there and you can separate that file and you can make literally 2 versions of that same movie, both named exactly the same thing. So in this particular instance, if you had one that was black and white for Logan and one was just a regular colored version, then you could go in there and you can say, Logan color, or just Logan regular, and then the next movie you can say Logan, colon B&W. In fact, you can go even a step further if you wanted to not rename it, but you wanted to make sure it's still distinguishable, and you can change the poster art to be a black and white version of it, or whatever. Something to distinguish it as a different video file altogether. That is one way that you could do it, but past that, I don't think there's really an option. But if there is, for my community, let me know in the comments. That'd be an interesting thing to know. Third question is from Colonel Sandfurs. Why don't you go for an Apple TV review? It's really easy to install and run the Plex app. Well, I will be actually. I don't have a time frame just yet, but I do plan in 2018 on doing a video covering a new set of Plex clients. I think I'm gonna wait probably till closer to the summer, wait for some new things to come out, but I wanna do another roundup of all of the major Plex players out there, or I'm sorry, media players out there and how well they run Plex. And this time around, I am going to make sure that I just spend the money and get an Apple TV and make sure to include that in the Plex client review. And on top of this question, I do have a lot of people ask me, like, well, why don't you test, Mac minis for servers, or Mac this for a server? I will never actually own like a Macintosh computer. About the most I actually enjoy using is the Apple iPhone and the iPad. So I enjoy using these because they're simple and they work and they're really great at what they do. They're not probably the best, and there's arguments for both sides and whatever. I don't care what you think type of deal. But past that, I will not use a Mac computer. I'm not going to build a Hackintosh because there's some like legal issues, kind of gray areas that I don't really want to mess with. So for the foreseeable future, there will not be a Mac-based media server in my home, if even for testing. Just moving past that. Next one, RMD80 Gaming. Hey Jason, do you know if Plex will do a standalone Plex server so you can just put the server OS on PC hardware? Okay, so this question was when I installed the Plex embedded OS on that Azul miniature PC. Basically, it's just you install it and Plex starts up. I mean, it's very seamless and everything is set up for you. I mean, it's a very streamlined process. So I kind of see where this question is coming from. But just take for a second and realize what Plex embedded OS, like the client, is actually made of. And that is literally just a small version of Linux with Plex, pre-configured and installed on top of it and made to run automatically and shut down, etc. So with that in mind, I don't know if Plex will ever do just like an embedded media server where it's just Linux. As far as I know, that's not an option out right now, But if you wanted to create your own, like in order to literally accomplish the same thing that they did with the Plex Embedded OS client, all you have to do is just find a tiny version of Linux, get that installed, and install the Plex Media Server on top of it. And then you pretty much have close to what the Plex Embedded OS is. I mean, there might be some other, configurations and things done on the backside of the Plex Embedded OS that I don't know about because I'm not an expert on that by any means. But I can say as far as, having a very minimalistic operating system running the Plex client, the operating system being Linux and just the Plex client on top of that, you already have all the tools at your disposal in order to accomplish that. The only difference though is that with a Plex Media Server, you do have to consider other things like, how are you going to set up your storage? What kind of, RAID configuration are you going to do? There's a lot of other things that do complicate things like that, which is why I think personally that until Plex actually comes out with basically their own form of like a network attached storage device interface type of thing, that you're not going to get what you're hoping for. Because while you can't achieve the same minimalistic design installing Plex on Linux, there are some other complications there that you really kind of have to know what you're doing in order to get up and running to its fullest potential by yourself. So what I would recommend is going through and watching my Battle OS series and look at some of the different options. For example, like FreeNAS or CentOS, certain things like that, and kind of see what you can get the best or the most performance out of your server with, and kind of go with that operating system, because most of those operating systems, not all, but most of them, they are like simple point and click, easy to use, set up your RAID array, set up whatever, and it's a really easy way to get Plex server up and running. And I'm a huge fan of easy, even though I do like to punish myself with things I don't understand. So next question is from Lunar Wolf. Random thought. Why not stick the rack in the same room as the modem and the router? You would end up consolidating things a lot more, doing less cutting, blah, 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 blah. Okay. I picked this question because it's actually kind of interesting. The cable that I get the best signal and everything is actually in that room. And when I moved in, there was already RJ45 cables ran to a few parts of my house, even though they're like RJ, or they're Cat 5. So I put it there. I was like, oh, hey, everything's here. Let's set it up. Boom, I just set it up. And that was really the only reason why it was there and I kept it there. It was just I moved in and had to get internet up and running as fast as humanly possible. So I did that. Now I'm pretty sure I'm just gonna leave the modem there because there's really no reason or motivation to move it. But like I said in the beginning of this video, I am making a change to my router setup. So again, expect that video and I will cover what I have done. And okay, that is all of the questions that I have. So again, I am working on a bunch of different videos. The pfSense video is one big thing that I'm working on. That's probably gonna be my next video. I have to work through a few different things, but I do wanna get that up and running as fast as possible. Then after that, I did get a lot of hardware in order to run more cables. I'm not 100% sure, and I have to plan this out in my head in order to actually make another video while I'm running some more cables. But I got, the different connectors, the termination points, the hookups. I also got a 24 port blank faceplate so I can put stuff in. So, I mean, I have a lot of things that are basically going to make my network hub, that new centralized server location, that video that I showed you, it's going to make that really useful. And I can have a bunch of cables running to that and basically have the whole house wired, or at least however many rooms I decide that I can do. So I want to make that video. That's definitely on the horizon. I just got to figure a lot of stuff out. On top of that, you got the full-time job and everything. You have to find time to do this kind of thing. So I'm just working right now primarily on pfSense, and it is pretty exciting. Right now, I actually have pfSense running my entire network. It's not behind another router. The router I had before, the TP-Link Archer C5400, it is now basically a dummy access point. So I'm still using the same network names like the SSIDs and everything, but it's just playing an access point. It's not doing any kind of routing services or anything like that. So for me, it was kind of difficult getting my server up and running. I will talk more about that in the pfSense video, but for now, just, be patient. So guys, that's a quick and dirty Jason Bytes Back. Again, sorry, I'm kind of pressed for time and this video was late because of that. I do apologize. I do usually try to get this out on the first of every month. In fact, sometimes I even try to live stream it. Even though last time I live streamed it, it kind of backfired on me. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any more questions in the future, I always like start with the last Jason Bytes Back video, look through all those comments and look for good questions, something that I can answer on camera. So if you want the best possibility of getting your questions answered, definitely put them below this video. As always, guys, thank you for watching. I appreciate every single one of you. Like and subscribe below, and have yourself a good day.